Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Interference has released its report. The federal parties all weigh in. This is the Great White North Report. Welcome back to the channel. As everyone knows, the foreign interference scandal has been going on for the last couple of years. The Liberals tried to brush it under the rug, and when that didn't work, they had to call in one of Trudeau's buddies, David Johnston, as a special rapporteur. And his report left a lot of questions unanswered and didn't please anyone. So he had to step down. And finally, a parliamentary committee made up of people, of MPs from across the political spectrum, came on board and went through all the findings, all the documents. Their report suggested that there were some MPs that profited from foreign interference from India and China, which I'm not surprised. I've been calling for this for several years now. And of course, it kicked up a storm in the last month of the House of Commons. Now, what did all the political parties have to say? Well, the Conservatives were right off the bat. And Pierre Poilievre, he called on the Liberal government to release the names of MPs accused of helping foreign states. Poilievre did not read David Johnston's special report. He didn't want to get the security clearance to see what he saw, because it would have muzzled him and kept his hands tied. Also, he'd be afraid of seeing if any of his own MPs in his own party are guilty of the same thing. Did they get help? Because there was an accusation that there was several conservative leadership races in certain ridings were influenced by overseas actors, namely China and India. Now, everyone could say the United States meddles in Canadian politics. Well, we meddle in their politics too. We have our own lobby groups. The United States has their own lobby groups. But China and India are not as open as the United States when it comes to that. So Poilievre says that the Canadians have a right to know the names of the MPs accused in their intelligence report of wittingly working on behalf of foreign state actors. Of course, it's never that simple. It's a matter for the RCMP and the National Intelligence Security Services to look into. Our laws, we do need tougher laws on that kind of thing. Now, do we have a right to know? We should know, but we will never know because it would damage. It's a criminal case then. You can't just accuse somebody without proof, and it's harder in the intelligence world to do so. So you can't name those under suspicion. Now, Poilievre has not yet obtained security clearance, so he can review the confidential information cited in the report. Is that a mistake? It might be. Sometimes it's best not to know, but in this case, I think he should know, in case there are any conservative MPs and then he can decide what to do with those traitors in his own party. So Poilievre was the first off the bat to hammer the Liberals on this one, because it is the Liberals who have kept it under the rug. Unfortunately, in Canada, foreign affairs take a backseat to domestic policies, and to our own peril. It's why our military has degraded to such a point that it can no longer defend Canada, or hasn't been able to for years. It's why we have vast amounts of public debt, why taxes are up, unlimited spending by Liberal governments have created this mess we're in. So Poilievre is right on the attack, which is right. When you're going into an election cycle, you want to attack and hammer and force the point home. And this is one of those that you can use. Unfortunately, is his own party completely clean? I'd want to know. Then next up on the list, we got the Green Party, which is an irrelevant party. It has 2 seats in the House of Commons, one held by Elizabeth May, who is now the re-leader of her own party. She stepped down after the 2019 election, and Anna May Paul was the Green Party leader going into the 2021 election, and she failed miserably. In fact, she was removed by internal squabbling from her own party. Elizabeth May had to step back in. Now, she's like the doddering old grandmother who tells you everything's going to be okay. She said she was relieved after reading top secret information. I don't know why we're letting her give a clearance for someone who has really no say in the House of Commons. So she said she read the original version of the highly publicized intelligence watchdog, and she doesn't believe any of her House of Commons colleagues knowingly betrayed their country. There's no list of MPs who have shown disloyalty to Canada, and I'm vastly relieved. So she's trying to calm the fears of Canadians. I think she does a piss poor job, because we're smarter than that in this day and age. Now, she's not helping her party at all by not hammering the Liberals on this, or the NDP or the Conservatives. Her party's probably clean. That's why she's relieved. There's only 2 people. So I can see why she'd be relieved, but at the same time, she should be asking more questions. It goes to show you just how good of a leader she would be. Then we got the NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh. Who says he's more alarmed after reading unredacted intelligence reports. Now, of course, his office says his comments should not be taken as confirming or denying if current MPs are involved. I imagine that a few NDP MPs are involved because the NDP is the logical choice to help countries like China and India. But he said he's more convinced than ever that some parliamentarians are willing participants in foreign states' efforts to interfere in Canadian elections. So Jagmeet said he's more convinced than ever that some parliamentarians are willing participants in foreign states' efforts to interfere in Canadian politics. This is after he read the report. He got his own security clearance. One reporter famously went after him during a press conference, asking him why does he still support the Liberals then, if he knows there's foreign interference, to which he had no reply. Nor did he confirm whether it's referring to serving MPs or ones that have already been outed in the past election, or have already stepped down in by-elections. So he said there are a number of MPs who have knowingly provided to help foreign governments, some to the detriment of Canada and Canadians. So this is a contrast to what Elizabeth May said. So who do you believe? Singh is hammering the Liberals. He's also hammering the Conservatives on this, because there are probably some Conservative MPs involved. There's probably NDP as well, but he's not going to go after them. One NDP MP, Jenny Kwan, says interference report has cast suspicion on all MPs and calls on House to release names. Well, they're not going to release the names simply because it's a criminal investigation then, and it'll damage reputations if they're falsely accused. So there's a lot of mudslinging going on over this, and she went on to say it has damaged the reputation of all sitting members, which it has because it dragged on for so long. These things shouldn't take so much time. Then we had Jagmeet back again in the news. It says Han Dong shouldn't be allowed back into Liberal caucus. So there's more to the Han Dong case than meets the eye. He was removed from the Liberal Party because of his ties to the Chinese Communist Party. So Jagmeet thinks that independent MP Han Dong should not be allowed back into the Liberal caucus. Again, some MPs were semi-witting or witting participants in the effort of foreign states to interfere in Canadian politics. So there must be more to that. But Jughead still supports the Liberals. Go figure. Then we got the Bloc leader, who says he's in no hurry to read intelligence report linking parliamentarians to foreign interference. So he's sitting on the fence. He plans to read it, but he's in no hurry. Now, the Bloc Québécois are not a federal party. They're just a provincial party in a federal system. They're only out to look after Quebec interests. And if Quebec interests were to be served by having Chinese foreign interference in Canadian politics, that would help them, they would do it. So leader Yves-François Blanchet, he said, they sent me a lot of paper to fill. I've not yet completed. I'm at the end of a session. I'm not in a hurry. He's going off to summer vacation. He'll read it when he gets a chance. Are there any Bloc parliamentarians who are also involved? It's possible. But he's not going to speak publicly about the contents of the report after reading it. I promise you there will be no show. So what he'll do is he'll weed out anyone in his own party probably. And he'll make himself look like a choir boy. And he said that the promise he made that he would not to reveal the contents of the report, something that Mrs. May and Mr. Singh should have understood better. Once you sign that security clearance confidential report, you're not allowed to speak about it really. They've already hinted stuff. May's fine, Singh's not. That's why Poilievre didn't also sign the security clearance, because then he keeps his options open in that sense. And he can't be muzzled. And then we go to Mr. Trudeau himself, who waited a couple weeks to say anything. Trudeau says he has some concerns about findings on foreign interference report. He did not specify the nature, but pointed to differing interpretations of the report. He's got a yay and nay answer. Yes, there was some foreign interference, but he doesn't think it's a big deal. Again, foreign affairs is not Trudeau's strong point, and it's something most Canadians don't pay attention to enough. We are dragged down by domestic policies, and the Liberals have overspent. Their economic policies have created a lot of problems in Canada. Overspending on stupid programs and raising taxes across the board. It's going to hurt us in the long run. Now, the day it was released, one Liberal MP, LeBlanc, suggested it left out important context and did not acknowledge the full breadth of outreach that has been done with respect to informing parliamentarians about the threat posed by foreign interference. So even this report is being scrutinized because it's heavily redacted when it's given, and it shouldn't be. So we'll never know, not for 25 years at least, what was in the report. And everyone's got their own interpretation of what's inside it. Singh, Jughead's being the alarmist. So finally we have the RCMP Commissioner Mike Duheme, however you pronounce that. And he says he hopes the MPs don't name politicians accused of aiding foreign powers in the House, because that would be against the rules. MPs enjoy parliamentary privilege in the House of Commons, including freedom from arrest, which I find disturbing. That means that they have freedom of speech in the House and in committee. Well, not necessarily, because they have to watch their language, and they can't directly call someone an SOB, stuff like that. They have freedom from arrest in civil actions. What? So that means that they get a DUI, they're freed from that. What happens if they kill somebody? They probably get kicked out of the house and then have to face the consequences afterwards. They get exemption from jury duty, exemption from being subpoenaed to attend court as a witness, and freedom from obstruction, interference, and intimidation. So you're not allowed to intimidate or obstruct them. Meanwhile, there's been a lot of protesters heckling Trudeau wherever he goes. Collective rights out of the House to discipline those found to breach of privilege or in contempt to remove members for misconduct. Like I said, this language thing. Regulates its own internal affairs, including its debates, agenda, and facilities, to maintain the attendance and service of its members. That's interesting. We got an NDP MP who hardly ever shows up in the House. She takes vacations with her family and dings the taxpayer. Institute inquiries and demand papers to call witnesses to appear and administer the oaths before them. So that's interesting. Okay, so if they do something like a hit and run and kill somebody, they will have to. It's criminality, so there's a difference. Did not know that. Learn something new every day. Anyway, he says that he hopes that he's uneasy with the idea that politicians could use their parliamentary privilege to name colleagues accused of aiding foreign powers. If you did that, that would be if the person in question is not guilty, then you're tarnishing their reputation and you're opening yourself up to libel. So it is a slippery slope when you do that. Should we know the names of the MPs? Well, you would like to. I think I would like to know, but again, how can you prove it? You could accuse anyone. You would need really hard evidence, and national security services would need to take follow these people around and photograph them talking to agents from these countries, and then money trails and all that fun stuff. So it's not as easy as it looks, and there probably should be an internal watchdog for these things, internal security service run by the RCMP for this. But it's interesting how each party went. The Liberals were like, Trudeau's not too concerned. The Conservatives are hammering the Liberals on this, even though they have not yet seen the documents, simply because Poilievre isn't signing any security clearance because it'll muzzle him. He knows that. The NDP under Jughead, he got his security clearance, but then went out there and started blabbing. He cannot keep his mouth shut. Jughead loves being in the spotlight. I don't know who's more of a narcissist, Trudeau or Singh. Elizabeth May, again, she went out and blabbed. Started opening her mouth up when she knew she shouldn't have. But again, she's such a fringe that will have no bearing on anything. So I don't know why she was given a security clearance in the first place. And she should also have known better. As for the Parti Québécois, they're going to get their security clearance. They're going to look at it, but they're not going to say. But they will use that in the next election in Quebec. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after this. Be nice to know the names, but we probably won't know the names simply because of that parliamentary privilege they have and whatnot. But all you Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think. Which leader has the gist of it? Should we know the names, but should we also press criminal charges and have the RCMP look into each individual? Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.
I've been